Today we're diving into the film Miller's Girl. You're watching Blackout Recap. Let's roll. Cairo, a young girl left alone in her Tennessee home while her lawyer parents work abroad, spends her days in solitude. She finds solace in writing to ease her loneliness. Each morning, she walks through the woods to school, her miniskirt and high heels making her stand out. At school, she forms a bond with her teacher Jonathan Miller, a middle-aged man whose dreams of being a writer never materialized. Despite their age gap, Jonathan takes on a paternal role in her life while Cairo secretly develops a deep admiration for him. Early for class one day, Cairo is asked by Jonathan if she's read the books for the semester. He's taken aback when she reveals she's already finished all 12. They delve into a conversation about literature until Winnie, Cairo's friend and a student repeating the class, interrupts to invite Cairo to lunch. After the girls leave, Jonathan's curiosity about Cairo deepens. He examines the stack of books on her desk, but is soon interrupted by his friend Boris, who grabs one of Jonathan's books and mockingly reads a risque passage aloud. Jonathan tries to stop him, but Boris persists, only to notice a book Jonathan authored among Cairo's collection, leaving him surprised. Returning home, Jonathan finds his wife, Beatrice, preoccupied with her work. Attempting to connect, he tells her about a student who's been reading his book. Beatrice listens distractedly until her colleague Amy calls with urgent business. After the interruption, Jonathan lightens the mood by flirting with Beatrice. They share drinks, and the moment grows intimate, until another call from Amy disrupts them. Frustrated, Jonathan struggles to hide his irritation. The next day, Jonathan complains to Boris about his ruined weekend, blaming Amy's interruptions. Boris teases him, then shifts the focus to his own adventures. As they talk, Cairo emerges from the nearby woods, instantly capturing their attention. Still irked by the previous day's events, Jonathan watches her approach. Cairo, oblivious to his mood, greets them warmly after removing her headphones. Jonathan, grappling with pent-up frustration, tries to maintain a casual demeanor as he chats with her. In the locker room, Winnie pretends to drop her belongings, an act Boris quickly sees through. Realizing she's trying to flirt with him, he confronts her. Cairo, observing the scene, remarks on Winnie's boldness. Winnie brushes it off and begins suggesting essay ideas to Cairo, though Cairo dismisses them as unoriginal. Playfully, Winnie proposes using charm on teachers to spark inspiration. Cairo, taken aback, points out the awkwardness of such a suggestion given the age difference. Winnie, ever flirtatious, reassures her, insisting it's harmless. She even suggests that Jonathan, with his kind and gentle demeanor, would be the perfect first date for Cairo to ease into the experience. Though hesitant at first, Cairo finds herself intrigued by Winnie's persistence. Winnie continues to tease her, hinting at Jonathan's lingering glances, which leaves Cairo embarrassed yet curious about her growing feelings. As weeks go by, Cairo becomes increasingly preoccupied with her budding desires, unable to ignore the pull of her emotions. Her attraction to Jonathan grows stronger, and her stolen glances in class become more frequent. One day, Jonathan approaches her quietly, leaning in close to whisper an invitation to meet him in his office after class. In his office, Jonathan chats with Boris, inviting him to join him and Beatrice for dinner. Boris accepts, and the evening unfolds with lively conversation and dancing. After Boris departs, Jonathan, in high spirits, tries mimicking his friend's dance moves, catching Cairo's attention as she happens to walk by. The light-hearted moment leads to laughter between Jonathan and Cairo. Their conversation shifts to Winnie, with Jonathan expressing his approval of their friendship. He also touches on Cairo's home life and praises her recent written work, particularly impressed by her ability to memorize and recite passages from it. Acknowledging Cairo's literary talent, Jonathan suggests she write a short story inspired by her favorite author. He assures her that excelling in this task could secure her a top grade for the semester. Excited by the challenge, Cairo eagerly agrees. Cairo surprises Jonathan by revealing she's read his books, quoting a passage from his debut work, which he admits holds deep personal significance. He confides that marriage has brought stability, but drained the inspiration that once fueled his writing, prompting Cairo to encourage him to reignite his creative spark. Jonathan suggests meeting over the weekend to discuss her short story. At their meeting, as a poet performs nearby, they reflect on how their conversations have sharpened their literary perspectives. Cairo sneaks a glance at Jonathan, who listens intently to Eliot's verses. Later, they exchange critiques of the poetry, trading observations and opinions. When Cairo lights a cigarette, she offers one to Jonathan. On a fresh school day, Cairo decides to revamp her style. She brings coffee for Boris and Jonathan, and the trio shares a light-hearted moment, joking and smoking together. Later, Cairo tells Winnie that although Jonathan didn't comment on her new look, she's certain he noticed and appreciated it. During a conversation with Jonathan, Cairo reveals her intention to model her short story after Henry Miller, known for his provocative themes of love and sexuality. Though initially concerned about potential backlash, Jonathan ultimately trusts her judgment and gives her the green light. Jonathan's phone buzzes with a message from Beatrice, inviting him on a weekend getaway. Preoccupied by thoughts of his wife, he hastily approves Cairo's writing project without giving it his usual attention. When they're alone, Winnie teases Cairo, joking that she's trying to seduce their teacher. She playfully mimics Cairo's supposed attempts, leaving both girls laughing at the absurdity of it all. While Cairo searches for her misplaced phone, Jonathan's day is repeatedly interrupted by Amy's insistent calls. When his phone rings, he's startled to hear Cairo's voice and discovers her phone accidentally ended up in his bag. As they talk, Beatrice expresses frustration over their delayed weekend plans. Jonathan offers to return Cairo's phone and agrees despite the approaching storm. As he nears her house, the rain pours heavily, and he spots Cairo walking outside in a provocative dress, drenched by the downpour. Their eyes lock, and an intense moment unfolds. Drawn to each other, they meet in the rain, where a surge of passion leads to a deep, consuming kiss. In the days following their encounter, Jonathan finds himself unable to shake thoughts of Cairo. His distraction is interrupted when Cairo sends him her midterm test, snapping him back to reality. Meanwhile, Beatrice dismisses him as she focuses on her own matters. Left feeling unsettled, Jonathan retreats to a small house nearby. In the privacy of his small retreat, Jonathan prints out Cairo's completed story and begins reading it with great interest. The narrative, rich with mature themes, captivates him completely. As the imagery stirs his imagination, he envisions Cairo within the scenes, his emotions intensifying. Overcome by desire, Jonathan succumbs to his urges and indulges in self-gratification. The following day, Cairo arrives at class in an alluring outfit, but Jonathan's demeanor toward her has shifted dramatically. His once warm greetings are replaced by a cold indifference. Sensing the change, Cairo confronts him, asking if everything is all right. Jonathan curtly criticizes her story, expressing disappointment over its explicit nature. Cairo attempts to defend her story, but Jonathan dismisses her explanations, condemning both her work and their relationship. Hurt and angry, Cairo lashes out, calling his writing uninspired and accusing him of jealousy. Their argument intensifies until Cairo storms out, leaving her story in the administrator's mailbox as a final act of rebellion. At home, Jonathan tells Beatrice about his argument with Cairo and her controversial story, which sparks her curiosity and leads to a tense discussion. Meanwhile, Cairo finds solace in Winnie's company, drowning her frustrations in a night of drinking. As the mood lightens, they jokingly concoct a plan to take compromising photos to tease Boris, their mischief adding a moment of levity to an otherwise difficult day. Back at Jonathan's, a call from the principal informs him of allegations about an inappropriate relationship with Cairo. Shaken, he denies the claims, but Beatrice warns him of the severe risks this poses to his career and their marriage. The next day, Cairo is absent from class, meeting with the principal while Jonathan continues teaching. After class, a concerned Winnie approaches him, emphasizing how much Cairo means to her, but Jonathan remains detached, unwilling to engage. Soon, Jonathan is called into a meeting with school management, where both he and Cairo are questioned in detail about their interactions, including any encounters beyond the classroom. Cairo's statements strongly suggest a connection between her and Jonathan, leaving him deeply worried about his career and reputation. When Cairo refuses to alter her account, the principal suspends Jonathan. When Jonathan returns home, he hesitantly informs Beatrice about his suspension. Suspicious, she presses him for details, and though he initially denies wrongdoing, he eventually admits to giving Cairo special treatment. When Beatrice asks if he has feelings for Cairo, his hesitation reveals the truth, sparking a heated argument filled with hurtful words. While Winnie warns Cairo that her actions could cost Jonathan his job, Cairo brushes off the concerns, viewing it as her greatest triumph. She even incorporates the incident into her college essay, framing it as a personal victory. Explaining to Winnie that Jonathan never valued her, Cairo reveals this was her way of retaliating. Her essay vividly outlines the fallout from their interactions, and as she finishes writing, the story concludes.